Hey friends, I'm coming to you from my bed, so this audio is basically a voice memo and it's not going to be perfect. But I need to give you an update on some things with the podcast that are going to change a little bit in the next few weeks. I, less than a week ago, lost my sister, my middle sister, Jessy. I know my mom and my baby sister have been on the show before, and you've heard from them because they take GLP-1. My sister, Jessy, uh, was magical and made of stardust. And she struggled and fought because she had a disease that caused her body to attack. It was an autoimmune disease, her liver, and eventually developed cancer in her liver and went through chemo and radiation and a liver transplant and had complications from that. But it gave us 2.5 more years with her to allow her to finish her memoir and start a nonprofit where people would donate to have art in hospitals so that the patients would have something beautiful to look at while they were healing. And even come up with an idea to be able to use the Meta platform to connect people that were donors, and also people looking for transplants. And when I started this podcast, my sister and my dad were both sick with cancer. And I had this cloud of grief that was hanging over my head. And I just didn't know what to do. But I knew I wanted to do something to help people. And I knew I wanted my life to have a bigger meaning. And so I started this podcast during that time and to kind of also have something positive to put out there and regain some control. And because I was always just sort of waiting for the next shoe to drop with them. And when I was with my sister in New York and she was going through chemo and radiation, I had the podcast going, I think, for a couple of months. And I said, it'll probably never be anything. And she said, don't you say that. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. And she really respected and supported what I was doing. And my sister was an artist. And even on the hardest days, she would create, And there's an episode coming out, not next week, but the next week, that I did last night and dedicated to my sister. Because she would create even on the hardest days. And much of this podcast is because of my experience with her and seeing how strong she was. And I'm obviously grieving deeply. And so I'm just going to be probably away for just a little while from the podcast. So I'm probably going to play some greatest hits, and I'm going to have probably an episode with Kat or two running some things just while I work through this, because I've never gone through this before. And it would mean the world to me if you would continue to engage with the episodes that are the greatest hits and the one that Kat does, and leave us reviews, because everything with this movement, and everything with podcast is based on engagement. And that's how we get referred up, right? With our reviews and the engagement, so your comments and your downloads. And we really need that, because that's how people find us. People that were like you, likely when you found the podcast, who were, sick and lost and needed community and answers and support. So I'd ask in this time while I'm grieving if you could continue to do that for us. And I just want you to know, for all of you that do follow me on socials and have reached out with support, thank you. And I love you deeply. And thank you for helping my life have, sorry, have a bigger meaning outside of myself. And because of grief in my family and my sister and my dad, we've been able to help tens of thousands of people better understand their disease and heal. So I'll be back, but help us out while I'm gone, okay? I love you.